I settle into the soft light beside you. My voice moves low and steady. Breath finds its own gentle rhythm. The room grows still. A quiet grows that carries no hurry. Close the day with me. Let shoulders drop. Let hands relax at the sides. Feel the weight of the hours. Let them sink into the mattress, into the chair, into the floor. The breath comes in. The breath goes out. Each exhale releases a small piece of the day. Each inhale brings a softer calm. This is a safe hour. Nothing urgent presses in here. No judgment waits at the door. The edges of the day can blur. Open the heart like a window. Let cool air move through. Let the light of stillness soften what is tight. Allow thoughts to settle like dust in a shaken jar. I read to you because words have a way of guiding the mind home. Old words, steady words, hold a kind of calm. They do not rush. They do not insist. They simply come and sit with us. In them, mercy breathes close. Hope leans in like a friend at the bedside. Listen as I speak, a passage that has soothed many restless nights. I do not speak to argue or to press a point. I speak to soothe. I speak to assure. I speak to remind that you are not alone. A presence walks with the tired. A care watches over the small and large worries. The promise is simple and near. Hear this. There is a shepherd who walks beside the weary. The shepherd tends the quiet places inside. There is rest beside still waters, and a steady hand through dark valleys. Comfort comes like a blanket. Strength returns in the softest ways. The promise does not demand perfection. It invites rest. Let the soft image settle. Picture a gentle path. The path moves through fields at dusk. Crickets hum a steady hymn. A lantern goes before you. Small and steady, you follow without need for speed. One step, another step. The ground is sure beneath the feet. The company is calm. I speak now of compassion that finds the broken places. Mercy comes as a slow, warm rain on parched soil. It does not shout. It enters quietly and brings small green things back to life. If regret feels loud in the chest, imagine that rain threading through. If worry tightens the chest, imagine the warmth of rain easing the bands. Each drop counts. Each drop matters. There is a promise of rest for those who carry heavy loads. The promise is not a future trophy. It is a present hand placed on the shoulder. It is a soft word saying, "Come." The invitation is gentle. The refuge is open. To accept it, one only needs to breathe and step toward the quiet. I invite you to release a single worry now. Choose one thought that has been loud tonight. Let it sit at the edge of awareness. Imagine placing it on a small boat. Watch the boat move onto a calm stream. The current takes it slowly. It disappears around a bend. The chest loosens. The jaw relaxes. Eyes feel heavier. There is a light in the scriptures that explains simply and kindly. It does not complicate. It reminds of a care that holds even when things seem confused. The words point to hope. They point to a mercy that is present now and again and again. The heart can rest in that remembering. I read about kindness that never fails. Small acts of grace change the landscape of the heart. A quiet forgiveness. A hand reached out. A silence that refuses to accuse. Notice where kindness is needed tonight. Picture it appearing like a small lamp. Watch it spread its circle. Darkness grows fainter around the edges. If fear comes, let it be met with a simple truth. You are not abandoned. The world may feel loud or indifferent. The night may seem long, still. A presence remains. It comes near to the hurting. It draws close to those who whisper in the dark. Even when words fail, that presence knows the shape of the sorrow. Imagine now a pair of hands. They are not cold or distant. They are warm and patient. They rest on your shoulders without force. They steady and do not lecture. They do not list failures. They remind of worth. They offer permission to sleep, permission to stop striving for a season, permission to let the bricks of worry be carried by someone else for a while. Listen to the rhythm of Scripture when it moves slowly. It says mercy meets us each morning. It says patience covers our failures like a soft cloak. It speaks of a quiet joy that is more like a steady ember than a burst of fireworks. That ember warms the darkest night and keeps the heart from sinking cold. I read such lines and let them fall like a soft quilt. No need to analyze. No need to win an argument inside. The point is simple. Rest is offered. Grace is available. Hope persists. Breathe in. Breathe out. With each breath, feel the truth of small mercy. Let it land on the forehead like a cool hand. Let it move down the spine and smooth the muscles. Notice eyelids grow heavier. Notice thoughts slow, like leaves in a slow river. Bring to mind a small memory of kindness from the day. It could be a cup of warm tea, a friendly nod, a door held open. Let that memory grow like a little garden. Allow gratitude to be present without forcing it. Gratitude in small things changes the tone of the mind. It does not erase pain. It softens its edges. There is a promise of presence that does not require proof. It rests on the fact of being seen. To be seen and known is a powerful balm. Imagine a light that recognizes every corner. It does not flicker. It holds steady. Within that light, nothing pretends. All weariness can arrive. Rest finds its way. If sleep feels distant, do not judge it. Rest can come in handler ways. A quiet mind, a softened heart, a steady sense of being accompanied. Even moments of calm count as Sabbath in the soul. Let small pauses be enough. I will read a passage that speaks of shelter. Think of a house with open windows and an experienced roof that bears storms. The house stands because someone cares for it. The same care watches over every small human house. Each night becomes a safe room when that care is present. You can close your eyes inside that room and breathe. Pain and doubt may still visit. They are allowed here. They do not disqualify, even in their presence. Gentle things remain true. Mercy is not withdrawn because the mind is tired. Hope does not flee because fear peeks in. The heart remains invited to rest. Weaving Scripture into these quiet moments is an act of remembering. The Scriptures themselves are not heavy. They are a lamp, held low, showing one step at a time. Hold your focus on the next small step. Do not ask for a whole map. Permission to rest is often the first step forward. I speak now of lightness that can come when burdens are offered up, not all at once, but in pieces. The offering is like a basket set on the shore, one by one. Small stones are laid in it. The basket grows heavier. At some point, the strain fades because someone else lifts it. The heart learns to hand over the rest, one pebble at a time. As I read, let the voice become a soft tide. It does not push. It simply moves. Let the flow of words carry tension away. The rhythm slows. The breathing deepens. Muscles unwind like cords released. The scalp eases. The shoulders surrender. The jaw unclenches. Even the knuckles soften. If grief sits like a folded blanket, let that blanket be unfolded here. Unfolding takes time. It need not be hurried. Each fold released is a small victory. Notice the warmth of acceptance as the blanket opens. Notice the small light that enters the corners. I remind you of a gentle promise. Morning comes. Even when nights stretch long, dawn comes. Hope has a morning face. Even the smallest hope is like a seed beneath the soil. It does not demand sight. It grows with darkness and then breaks through. Trust the slow work. Tonight, I will read aloud. I will use words that have calmed many before. The pace will stay slow. The sentences short. The tone steady. Let the voice become a small anchor. Rest in it. Allow surrender. As the room settles, place one hand over the heart if it feels right. Feel the steady drum there. Feel rhythm and life. Each beat is a quiet reminder that you continue. That persistence itself is a kind of grace. I promise no sudden answers. I promise no quick fixes. I promise only presence. I promise a soft path towards sleep and company along the way. We will walk it slowly. No rush. No final test. Now breathe in again. Let the air fill the belly. Hold it briefly. Let it out with a long, soft sigh. Allow eyes to close when they want. Allow stillness to deepen. I begin to read, and the words will fall like evening rain. Let them water the places that need it. Let them soothe the parts that ache. Stay with me a while. Rest here tonight. I begin with a soft pause. Breath comes in slow. Breath goes out slow. Eyes may close if that feels right. Let the shoulders soften. Let the jaw loosen. Notice toes and the gentle press of the surface beneath them. Feel the weight of the body. Let it sink. Notice the small sounds around us. They are part of this quiet. They do not need to be pushed away. A lamp burns low on the nightstand. Its light is warm, not bright. The pages of the Bible sit open. The paper is a familiar friend. The cover makes a small sound when I lift it. I move slowly. Each motion is careful. Each word will follow with the same care. Imagine harbor dusk. Boats rest close together. The ropes are tied. The water is almost still. The small rocking stops. In that harbor, No storm stirs you now. The mooring holds. Imagine handing over a single rope you have been holding for hours. The hand that takes it is steady. It does not rush. It does not need a list of reasons. It simply accepts. I read words that speak of refuge and steadiness. The language is gentle. It invites a lean. It offers a place to rest the weight without needing explanations. Let those words fall into the body like soft rain. They do not demand action. They do not press a duty. They promise steadiness in the middle of the restless night. Listen to the small phrases. Let them be the steady sound of a clock in an empty room. Each tick is calm. Each tick marks a breath. The mind can follow that slow rhythm. If thoughts stray, return to the tick. Return to the breath. Return to the quiet lamp. No scoring. No tally. Only a return to presence. There are images of shelter in the pages I read. Not a fortress, but a simple room with a low fire. The fire warms without flaring. Bread is on the table. The chair beside the window is empty, for now but ready. In that room, there is permission to set down burdens, permission to be weary, permission to be mended piece by piece. Place one hand on the chest. Feel the steady beat. That small drum is witness to continued life. It counts out a quiet assurance. With each beat, let a single worry drift a little farther away. Picture it as a pebble on a shore. A small wave lifts it and carries it out. No force, only motion. It leaves space for calm. I talk about mercy as a soft cloth. It smooths the edges of the tired heart. Mercy does not lecture. It hems broken edges without name-calling. It moves with patience. It works in tiny stitches. Allow the mind to imagine those stitches. Watch the frayed parts gather into a whole seam. The mending is slow. It is enough. If guilt wakes now like a small animal, do not chase it away harshly. Sit still. Offer it tea. Let it be seen. Often gentle attention diminishes the loudness. The pages I read say this with quiet words. The message asks for presence, not perfect performance. It invites a small breath of forgiveness into the chest. Picture a path made of soft moss. Each step makes no sound. The air smells faintly of warm earth. There is someone walking just ahead, not far, close enough that the shape is clear, the pace is unhurried. Follow the footsteps while keeping the breath even. One foot, another foot. The path does not rush. I read a passage that speaks of a guiding hand. The hand does not shove or pull hard. It steadies when footing feels unsure. It favors a gentle pressure at the back. That pressure reminds the feet to trust the ground beneath them. Trust can be practiced in small measures. Practice it now with a single, calm breath. Bring to mind a small kindness from the day, even a tiny one, a warm cup, a smile at the corner of a doorway, a door that closed softly for you. Let that frail light expand a little. Let it fill the edges of the mind with a gentle glow. Gratitude of that size is enough to change the shape of the room inside. There is no rush to solve the piled questions. The pages I read do not demand an answer tonight. They offer a steady companionship. Imagine a lamp that will stay lit, whether or not the mind untangles every knot. The lamp simply keeps company. That steadiness is a kind of mercy too. If sleep is slow to come, focus on the small things, the weight of a blanket, the steady sound of breath, the temperature of the room. These details pull attention from racing thoughts. They make the night into a sequence of small, manageable moments. Tonight needs only this one small moment at a time. I read about a promise that is like a caretaking neighbor. The neighbor does not judge. The neighbor brings a casserole sometimes. The neighbor sits quietly on the porch and listens. This image is humble and human. It fits the kind of care that speaks in the pages. It is near, ordinary, and faithful. Think of a candle that will not be snuffed. It warms a small corner. It will not burn out quickly. Even if the flame is small, it changes the feel of the room. The pages point to a similar steady warmth. Let that warmth move through the body. Imagine it passing from the forehead down the shoulders, through the arms, and into the hands. The hands let go of tightness as the warmth moves. When anxiety tenses the stomach, breathe into that place. Send the breath like a small kindness to that area. Picture it opening and softening like dough under careful hands. The body responds to the gentleness. Notice the space that grows. Let mercy fill that space. I read slowly now. Each sentence is short. Each pause is long enough to breathe. If the mind tries to solve problems, gently bring it back. The room and the lamp and the Bible are anchors. Use them. Let the rhythm of words and breath steady the night. Allow a memory of prayer to be simple, not elaborate. A short sentence in the heart is enough. Offer it as a child might offer a drawing. The drawing is imperfect but sincere. The pages in front of me use plain words that carry sincerity. Let that be sufficient for tonight. The small lamp by the bedside will remain on while these words continue. The cost of a lamp is small. The effect is large. It keeps shadow edges soft. In the same way, the promise in the pages is a small light that makes the fear less sharp. It does not erase the trouble. It reshapes it into a softer outline. If grief is heavy, do not try to stack it like bricks and carry them all at once. Lay down one brick now. Lay down another when you are ready. The practice of putting them down is itself a kind of rest. The pages offer permission to set down those weights and take a single breath between each release. Notice the rhythm of the sentences. Notice the way they fall like a gentle tide. The tide does not strip the shore in a hurry. It smooths it. It moves little by little and leaves the sand easier to walk on. Let the words act as that tide, smoothing jagged edges of thought. As I read, the night settles in deeper. The hush thickens like a slow blanket. That blanket does not smother. It comforts. The hand over the heart can feel the pulse. The pulse counts out a patient song of survival. Let the song be enough for now. When it is time to sleep, sleep will come without drama. There is no rush to force it. The pages I read are a companion on that slow path. Imagine a gentle closing of a book. The story does not end here. It rests. It breathes. It waits. If you find this calm helpful, consider returning to this place again. Aste du voice reads. A steady lamp waits. A steady invitation remains, suggesting a small request when comfort is found. Passing it along in quiet ways helps others find this small harbor too. A simple action like sharing can be a light for someone else. For now, rest. Let the breath be slow. Let the shoulders sink. Let the lamp's circle hold the edge of the night. I stay here a little while longer, reading with soft pace. The next passage will come when the room is ready. Stay with me. Rest now. I close the Bible gently and turn a page with deliberate calm. The lamp throws a small circle of light. The rest of the room slips toward a softer shade. I set the book in my lap and let the idea of a garden settle between us. Picture the garden with me. The path is soft beneath bare feet. Moss cushions each step. Small beds of herbs breathe a familiar scent. Lavender leans into the air. A bench sits beneath an old apple tree. Sun filters through leaves in slow, patient patch. The world here moves with no hurry. I place one thought on that bench. It is a worry, a small, sharp thing that has been poking the chest. I imagine setting it down and smoothing a hand over it. The action is simple. The release is quiet. The burden does not vanish by force. It rests while the garden does its gentle work. Forgiveness grows in this space like a careful gardener. The gardener bends slowly. Hands are steady. Pruning is gentle. Dead branches are clipped to make room for new shoots. Roots are loosened when soil is too tight. The work is not dramatic. It is patient and plain. The result is renewed life. I read a verse that speaks plainly about forgiveness. It says that forgiving others is tied to being forgiven. The idea is straightforward. When I open my hand toward another and let go of the sharp piece I have been holding, the hand that holds me opens as well. The pages do not promise bargaining or a ledger. They promise a simple exchange, release, and receive. This teaching is not a demand for perfection. It is an invitation to peace. The words ask for a small practice. Let the practice begin tonight in the quiet of the garden. Let forgiveness be the first step toward easing the chest. The act is for relief, not for approval of harm. It frees the one who carries the weight. I invite a soft exercise. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out slowly. Picture the hurt or offense as a folded piece of paper. It sits on the bench beside the apple tree. Walk to the paper with deliberate steps. Do not hurry. Place a palm on the fold. Say inwardly, in a line or two, that the burden may rest. You do not need to rehearse every injury. A simple letting go is enough. With each exhale, watch the paper lift from the bench. It does not blow away in a gust. A small breeze carries it across the garden. The breeze is gentle and sure. The paper drifts over the pond. Water takes it and softens the crease. The act of watching is itself a release. Forgiveness does not erase memory. It does not pretend that hurt never happened. The garden keeps old roots visible to learn from. The gardener marks places that need repair. Forgiveness clears the path for walking again. It removes the heavy stones, so steps do not wobble. The life that returns is steadier. I speak of mercy with a slow voice. Mercy is like compost in the garden. What once was broken becomes nourishment. Patience and time turn the hard parts into soil that feeds new growth. This is not quick. It is quiet. It happens under the surface, where hands do their steady work. When bitterness sits like a thorned bush, pruning happens, one snip at a time. The pain from the cut stings briefly. Then the air reaches new places. A small green shoot appears months later. The patience of the garden is a promise that healing keeps its own slow calendar. I tell a simple truth from the passage I read. Holding on to grievance keeps the body taut. Letting go relaxes the jaw and eases the breath. The passage points to this practical change, more than to a legal balance. The heart that forgives finds room to breathe. The night softens. Sleep comes easier. There is also a tenderness for self to be found here. Self-forgiveness sits at the center of the circle. Mistakes have been made. Regret can gnaw. The garden allows for gentle tending of that old ache. A gardener wipes the soil from a plant and cups it back in careful hands. The act is simple compassion. It is not the same as excusing repeated harm. It is saying that healing can start with one kind act toward oneself. I guide an inward gesture. Place a hand over the sternum. Feel the slow thud beneath the fingers. Each beat is a witness to continued presence. Offer a small sentence in the heart. It might be a request for help to release. It might be a quiet, thanks for small mercies of the day. The words need not be polished. They only need to be true. In the garden there is also boundary. A low fence keeps certain areas safe. Forgiveness does not remove wise lines. It does not require returning to a place that continues to harm. The gardener knows where to plant and where to fence. The same care helps the heart decide where to hold tenderly and where to guard. Forgiveness and safety can live together. I read again from the passage that links forgiving with being forgiven. The connection is gentle. It is not a thread. It is not a mechanical rule. It reads like a map for inner peace. When a hand loosens its grip, something else loosens too. The chain that tethers the chest begins to slack. That is the gift offered. Let go of one small name tonight. It can be a person, a memory, a pattern of thought. Picture the name as a little stone. Toss it into the pond. Listen to the tiny plink. Watch the ripples spread and fade. The sound is small and exact. The ripples smooth the surface into calm. I remind that forgiveness often requires being given more than once. The gardener returns to the same bush repeatedly. The pruning is part of a season, not a single event. If the heart slips back into tightness, return to the bench. Take another breath. Repeat the simple letting go. The practice is the work. There are times when forgiveness seems impossible. The soil feels frozen. In those nights, the garden offers a shelter. Sit under the tree. Feel the trunk steady. Let the ache be seen without forcing brightness. The act of acknowledging the hurt is a humble step forward. It keeps company with growth. The Bible's words act like a watering can here. They do not rush the process. They sprinkle a steady mote of grace. The teachings are not a harsh command. They are a hand extended across the bench. Grasp it if ready. If not, Let the hand remain there until readiness arrives. I also speak of mercy toward others in quiet terms. Small gestures change the tone of the house we share. A soft word, a patient listening, a silence that refuses to argue. Such things do not fix everything. They open doors to slow repair. The passage I read encourages these minor acts because they shift the atmosphere of the heart. Now breathe in deeper. Let the ribs expand like the small leaves after rain. Breathe out and feel shoulders lower. With each breath, picture forgiveness as a light sprinkling of water. It does not drench, it nourishes. The soil welcomes it. Roots drink. New life is not forced. It appears in time. If a part of the heart resists, begentle. The garden works without harshness. I do not ask for sudden forgiveness. I invite a small readiness. Sometimes readiness begins with a single, honest thought. Sometimes it begins with a willingness to try. That is sufficient for tonight. I close this short reading with a simple reminder. Forgiveness is the doorway to peace. It does not remove consequence or wisdom. It changes the burden into something manageable. It moves the heart closer to rest. The garden will hold the slow work. The gardener will keep tending. Rest now with that picture in mind. Let the bench and the apple tree and the steady gardener be your companion. Let the small act of releasing one worry be enough. Sleep may come in its own time. If it does not, return to the bench again. I will read on when the hour is gentle, and you are ready. For now, breathe and rest. The word is near. Mercy lives here. Peace arrives. One small letting go at a time. I lift the Bible and let its small weight settle in my hands. The lamp is steady. The room breathes slow. Pages whisper as I turn them with careful fingers. The idea of grace settles like a soft shawl across the lap. Grace comes like a gift. It arrives unearned. No checklist precedes it. No ledger balances it. The writing I read speaks plainly about this. It names grace as something given, not earned. The thought itself eases tightness in the chest. It asks nothing that the tired heart cannot offer. I speak of receiving unconditional love now. The phrase feels large and gentle at once. Imagine a door open in the garden I described. The bench remains. The apple tree offers shade. Behind the tree, a door opens into a small room where nothing is demanded. A simple chair waits. A light burns low. Within this room, the invitation is to rest, not to explain. Grace is not a list of tasks. It is a steady presence that sees and accepts. The Bible passage I read highlights that gift. It reminds that acceptance happens before performance. That truth is an anchor for the weary. It turns the focus away from what must be achieved and toward what is already given. I recall a friend in the years before this quiet hour. The friend carried grudge like a winter coat. The shoulders hunched to carry it. The jaw held the hard lines of remember. Each night, sleep slipped away a little further. The face wore a shadow that never lifted. One evening, a small thing happens. A neighbor brought over bread. No speeches, no counsel. The bread was warm and simple. My friend accepted it from a hand that did not press for confession or explanation. That small act of kindness opens something. A crack appears in the heavy coat. A breeze moves through. The story of grace finds a place to enter. The friend comes to the garden with that coat folded in hands. The bench is familiar. The apple tree knows the story. We sit in silence for a time that does not demand words. The light is patient. After a while, the conversation turns to the one who had caused the hurt, not to blame, not to rehash, just to say, I am tired of holding this. Forgiveness and grace are neighbors in this space. The friend is not asked to forget. The wrong is not minimized. Rather, the letting go begins as a relief. Freedom is not loud. It is steady and subtle. The coat is eased from the shoulders. A hand straightens where a knot used to be. The heart seems to take a long, necessary breath. Later, the friend speaks about the feeling. It is as though a rock slides from a pocket. The body relaxes in ways that small prayers cannot force. Sleep returns gradually. Laughter reappears in quiet places. The world does not become perfect, but the space to live within it widens. Grace had opened a door inside that had been bolted shut. That story is simple. It is not meant to fix every wound. It is meant to show a way that mercy works in small, human steps. A loaf of bread, a seat in the garden, a patient listening. These are not miraculous in noise, but they are miraculous in effect. They soften what feels unmovable. The passage I read returns to the idea that grace is a gift. It is not something to be earned by performance or polished act. The heart can rest because acceptance precedes achievement. This is a comforting thought for those who awake in the night counting failures. The counting can stop tonight. The lamp holds the room. The hands of mercy are not waiting for credentials. Receiving unconditional love changes posture. It shifts the spine from constant readiness to a gentle ease. The muscles uncurl. The breath lengthens. A person who expects harsh judgment tenses the whole body like a drawn bow. When acceptance is offered first, the tension unwinds. The bow relaxes. The string rests. It is a small physical change with a wide effect. I invite a simple practice tonight. Place one hand over the heart. Feel the warmth. Feel the slow beat. With each breath, imagine a small light entering through the sternum. The light is not bright. It is a quiet glow that widens with patience. Each inhale pours a little more light into the chest. Each exhale releases a small piece of fear. This practice is not a test. It is a small attempt to receive. Receiving can feel strange at first. Giving is often easier. The pages I read remind that receiving is holy work too. Let the smallest gratitude meet the gift. A single phrase in the heart is enough. It might be, thank you for this calm. It might be, help me rest in this. Keep the words brief. Let them sink. There are nights when the idea of unconditional love feels like a distant shore. The sea seems wide. The old hurts call from the dark. In those hours, small signs of grace, help, a neighborly gesture, a memory of someone who offered kindness without asking for reasons, a quiet moment when the world did not demand more than presence. Notice these things. Let them be proof enough for tonight. I read on in the book. The language is spare and steady. It does not demand an answer. It offers a steady assurance. Grace lands in familiar images, a shepherd tending wounds, a hand lifted to steady a tired step, bread offered to a hungry one. These images do not solve the deeper questions. They do, however, soften the edges of the night. Part of receiving grace is allowing mistakes to be where they belong. Error does not erase worth. Weariness does not disqualify. The narrative I hold for the night makes room for small failures and gentle repair. The room behind the apple tree is not a courtroom. It is a place where a person may sit while the mending begins. I think again of my friend. The freedom found was not a tidy miracle. It was a slow unwrapping. Old thoughts about justice eased. New habits formed. The person learned to accept kindness without suspicion. Trust returned in small units. A shared smile. A dinner. A walk at dusk. The freedom came as a daily practice, not a single event. If resistance rises inside, name it softly. Names do not fix everything, but they make space. Say to the heart that receiving is allowed. The pages say that grace cannot be earned like wages. It comes as a gift. Let the heart sit with that. Let it consider the possibility that the care you hope for already leans close. This gentle acceptance also includes a mercy toward those who struggle to give. Some people cannot match the grace that is offered. That is part of the human landscape. Receiving grace does not require a perfect exchange. It requires an openness to be touched by kindness when it appears. The breath slows now. Words are soft. The lamp continues to watch. The garden remains just beyond the door. The bench waits for those who return. The image of a friend letting go of a heavy coat rests like a small photograph on the mind. Before I close the book, take a breath with me. Inhale slowly. Hold the breath for a heartbeat. Exhale long and soft. Feel the small hand on the chest. Feel the pulse. Sense the room. Sense the steady thread of mercy that runs through these pages. I put the Bible down for a moment and rest my palms over it. The act is quiet. The light grows dimmer as the eyelids grow heavy. The invitation to receive unconditional love lingers like a warm scent. It does not demand a response tonight. It only offers a place to rest when sleep comes. Let it be gentle. Let the small lamp guide the way. If the night returns with old questions, remember the bench in the garden. Remember the loaf of bread. Remember that a gift of grace rests within reach. I stay here a little longer, breathing in time with the room. The pages will close when the hour deepens. For now, rest with the thought that you are seen and accepted. Let that truth soften the jaw, loosen the shoulders, and tend the heart toward gentle sleep. I sit back in the lamp circle and let the room breathe with me. The Bible rests on my knees like a quiet companion. My voice is soft. My pace is slow. Tonight I speak of grace again, and then I invite stillness. The two belong together. Grace is a gift. It does not arrive because of lists checked off. It does not knock only for those who are polished. It comes into the lap of the weary, into rooms full of mistakes, into hands that tremble. The pages I read speak of a love that offers itself first. That idea eases the shoulders, the way a warm cloth eases a knot. Receiving it does not require a long speech. It requires only a slight, willing opening. Think of grace as light passing through a small window at dawn. The light does not ask for credentials. It pours in on whatever surface is present. It shows dust, and it warms the surface without shame. To be touched by this light is to discover the edges of the day softened. The change is not loud. It is small and steady. It rearranges the room. Grace also changes how the hands hold things. A hand that carries guilt tightens. A hand that receives a gift relaxes. That relaxation spreads slowly. Muskel loosen. Breath lengthens. The night becomes a place where repair can start. This repair looks more like sewing than replacement. Tiny stitches. Patient attention. No sudden unmaking. The work happens where light and care meet. I read the words slowly that point to this gift. The sound is low, like rain on a roof. The meaning is, simple acceptance comes before achievement. The truth is practical. It turns the mind away from tallying failures and toward a quiet rest. The body responds. The jaw unclenches. The hands open a fraction. That fraction matters more than it sounds. Now, I invite stillness. I remind of an old, steady line that calls for quiet. It asks simply to stop the rush and to notice presence. I do not repeat the exact phrasing from the page. I offer the spirit of it, be still and know. Let that request land softly. It does not order the heart. It simply offers a place to pause. Settle into the breath with me. Inhale 2 counts. Hold 1. Exhale 3 counts. Repeat slowly. Let the breath act as a small boat on a calm pool. Each cycle carries a little more of the day away. The body begins to trust the rhythm. The mind finds a new habit. Stillness begins not as absence, but as a presence, arranged around breathing. Picture the apple tree in the garden. I return there because the image steadies. The tree is steady. It has weathered seasons without demanding perfection. Sit at its base. Rest your back against the trunk. Feel the roughness of bark. Feel the slow, patient heartbeat beneath palms. The tree does not lecture. It simply stands and offers shade while you rest there. Notice the presence that leans close, like the scent of blossoms. The presence is not distant. It is like the quieting of wind at dusk. It is not coercive. It is gentle. When stillness meets that nearness, transformation begins. Old patterns do not disappear suddenly. They grow smaller under patient attention. Stones move aside. New seedlings push through soil that once felt compacted. Accepting grace is not the same as excusing every harm. It does not erase the need for wisdom or safety. In the garden there are fences and hedges for care. Grace arrives alongside those boundaries. It does not require the removal of wise lines. Instead, it helps hands tend the garden with clearer sight, where cynicism had shadowed every path. A lighter step becomes possible. I read again with measured words. The pages remind me that stillness is a way to know, not just to silence noise. To know means to let presence touch the questions without rushing to fix them. It is a practice of quiet attention. It is not a contest of impressions. It is an invitation to reside in the same room as mystery and mercy together. Try a small practice with me. Close the eyes if that feels safe. Place a single hand over the sternum. Let the fingers rest there without pressure. Breathe into that place as if into a small bowl. The bowl fills and holds warmth. With each exhale, imagine a single worry loosening its grip. Picture it as a leaf, letting go and drifting on a pond. Watch the tiny rings spread and calm the surface. The presence I invite is steady. It does not shout answers across the night. It sits by the bedside and hums a low, familiar tune. That hum is enough to change the tone of fear. It does not remove the ache. It changes the way the ache is carried. The load becomes more bearable because someone else shares the weight. Transformation through grace is slow and kind. Think of water over stone. At first, nothing seems to change. Years later, the contour is altered. So it is with hearts. Gentle care, poured in, repeatedly reshapes what seemed immovable. Expect no dramatic revelations in one night. Allow instead the slow work. Notice small changes of breath that lasts one beat longer. A thought that does not sting as sharply. A sleep that edges closer. I return my voice to the Bible now, to read another brief passage. The line I find points to presence that steadies fear. It holds the promise that a shelter exists in the middle of storms. The image is humble. It is a place of quiet roof and steady walls. Nothing showy. Just safety. Let this image be the frame tonight. If loneliness arrives, let it be met by the simple fact of someone near. The night is wide, but the presence is close. Imagine a lamp placed on a table not far off. Its circle touches the floor. The shadows are softer. You are not asked to produce anything to keep that lamp burning. It burns because it is a gift. Receiving that light is a small, holy act. When anxious thoughts start to march, call them by a single name and let them be. Labeling them gently can make them feel less like a storm and more like a passing cloud. Then return to breath. Return to the lamp. Return to the tree. These anchors are practical and humble. They make room for the heart to lay down heavy things without hostility toward the self. Mercy waits in the room like warm tea. It does not scold. It does not list faults. It simply warms the hands. If self-judgment rises, offer a small sentence of kindness, inwardly. It need not be elaborate. It might be simply, let this be. Or, I am allowed to rest. Short phrases carry weight more honestly than long debates. They slide past the mind's defenses and settle in the body. I do not demand change tonight. I encourage it. Small changes compound. A softer breath tonight means a softer morning. A single act of receiving grace makes the next small act of trusting a little easier. The rhythm is patient. The goal is not to fix every broken part now. The aim is to make tonight a place where the next gentle step is possible. If resistance insists, sit with it without harshness. Resistance often hides a deeper wound that fears being hurt further. The presence I speak of will not force the wound open. It will sit nearby until a hand is ready to reach. That presence respects pace. That respect is itself a part of grace. Now take another deep breath with me. Inhale slowly to the count of 3. Hold to the count of 1. Exhale long to the count of 4. Feel the chest soften. Feel the shoulders lower. Notice how stillness becomes easier when it has a shape like a breath. Stay with this shape as long as it is helpful. I will remain a while longer, reading spare lines and sitting in the light. The lamp will not hurry. The garden beyond the door is patient. The promise of grace continues to be offered. Unearned and steady, presence holds the room. It invites the heart to rest into a new, slow rhythm. When sleep finally comes, let it be gentle and full of small mending. If wakefulness returns later, this place waits without reproach. Return when needed. Sit under the apple tree. Place a hand on the chest. Breathe. Receive the steady, transforming gift that visits without demand. I close the book softly and let silence fill the room for a moment. The quiet is not empty. It is a presence arranged like a blanket. Rest now in that arrangement. Accept the gift. Be still and know the nearness that steadies the night. I sit very still now. The lamp breathes its small circle of light. The Bible rests open in my hands. My voice is low. The room listens. Tonight I speak of a peace that does not make sense at first. The pages I carry point to it. The line in Philippians speaks of a peace that surpasses understanding. It promises a guard for heart and mind. That promise does not demand explanation. It offers a presence. Think of a lake at dawn. The wind can whip the surface. Waves may rise elsewhere. Yet a deep layer holds water calm beneath the weather. The surface can rage, and the depth remains quiet. The peace, I mean, is like that deep layer. It is not the same as putting a lid over worry. It is a steadiness under the stirrings. A short story comes to mind. It is a small, honest memory. It is not dramatic. It is gentle and true. I am in a hospital waiting room late at night. The lamps are dim. A vending machine hums in the corner. Coffee has long gone cold. The clock ticks in a measured way. The air smells faintly of disinfectant and rain. Hands press into knees. Eyes track the hallway as if it might suddenly deliver news. The mind rehearses every possibility. I open the Bible. My fingers find a worn page. I do not recite or argue. I only read a line that holds a simple claim. A peace beyond the cleverness of the mind will keep the heart and the thoughts safe. The words are not loud. They are a quiet fact. They sit in the chest like a small stone put down. At first, nothing miraculous happens. The watch on my wrist keeps its steady beat. The vending machine continues its low song. Then a small change arrives. The chest unclenches by a fraction. The jaw relaxes. Thoughts that had been ping-ponging lose the sharp edge. A coolness moves like a light hand across the shoulders. The feeling is not the end of worry. The circumstance remains uncertain, yet something inside steadies. I remember standing and watching the rain make the hallway tiles shine. Each drop makes a tiny sound. The sound is exact and soft. The mind can follow it. The steady rhythm of rain and the line I read work together. The storm outside the window and the storm inside the thoughts both exist. The presence I sense does not erase the storm. It brings a shelter into the chest. That shelter is peace. This peace watches. It does not insist on explanations. It does not force feelings away. It takes up a humble post like a sentinel at a gate. The task is not to deny fear. The task is to hold a steadiness, so that fear has room to be without turning the whole house into a battlement. The words I read say that the peace will guard. Guarding is an image I like. It is active without being violent. It is a careful keeping. The guarding acts in quiet ways. A tightened thought uncoils. A flood of questions loses momentum. Images that had looped begin to soften. The mind can rest on a single small thing. For Schumann, that might be the beat of a watch. For others, the steadiness of breath. For me, in that room, it was the light through the window and the soft sentence in the Bible. A thin place opens. There are times when words try to explain every fear. They push and argue and invite a checklist of solutions. That kind of labor tires the mind further. God's peace. As I have felt it, arrive different. It is not a tiny manual of coping techniques. It is presence. It sits like a lamp, left on in a long hallway. The lamp does not solve the leak in the roof. It simply makes the walk safer. After that night, the memory does not feel like a miracle in a headline sense. It is more like a small lamp kept on. Later, when sleep comes in fits, that memory returns as proof that another kind of quiet is possible. The mind, trained by that small experience, can find a similar stillness when pages are opened and breaths are counted. The guard spoken of in the verse is not armor. It is a kind of shelter that fits around the heart and the thinking space. Imagine a soft fence around a garden. The fence keeps at bay the trampling of panic. It leaves the garden open to light. The word surpasses. Understanding means that the guard can exist even when reason cannot fully account for it. It is not contingent on explanations. It is practical nonetheless. Now let me guide a small practice. Keep the voice slow. Follow very simple steps. Lie back in bed if possible. Let the head find its pillow. Let the hands rest with no grip. Breathe in slowly. Count to 2. Hold 1. Breathe out for 3. Repeat. Each inhale is an invitation. Each exhale is a release. Imagine a pale light resting at the center of the chest. The light is calm. Each breath fans it open a little. As the light grows, it forms a gentle ring just beneath the sternum. Picture that ring as a watchful friend. It does not shout. It only watches. It steadies the space where thoughts tend to race. If worry comes, let it be noticed. Name it with one word in the heart worry. Do not pursue it. Do not argue with it. Let the ring of light hold it without judgment. The thought is allowed to be. The presence around it keeps it from pulling the whole mind into frenzy. The Bible's line about peace guarding hearts and minds is not a strategy to beat worry. It is an invitation into a different posture. Instead of standing in need to fix everything now, the posture is to sit with a small lamp and let the lamp do its work. The lamp is steady. The lamp is a presence. That presence changes the way the body holds tension. A physical detail helps. Place a hand on the chest. Feel the pulse beneath the fingers. It is patient. Each beat is a witness to continued life. Let the breath match the pulse for a few cycles. Breathe in time with the beat. Let that rhythm build a small bridge between body and mind. The bridge becomes a part of the guard I speak of. Peace that surpasses understanding is not passive. It is a steadying force. It does not demand certainty. It offers a stable place for the unknown. That steadiness allows small decisions to come with clearer sight. Sleep begins to show itself not as an escape from thought, but as a continuation of the same quiet. I want to tell another small truth from the bedside of the night. Often, peace begins in small imagings. The mind needs an image to rest on. The image can be simple: a shallow bowl holding water, a lamp on a shore, a small boat carrying a single stone out past a bend. These images act as anchors. They are not sophisticated. They are effective. The practice is humble and repeatable. Use it whenever the night presses. Open the Bible. Read a sentence slowly. Let the breath slow. Imagine a thin ring of light at the chest. Notice how the rhythm of breath and the lamp in the pages make a small, steady place inside. Tonight, I will read that line from Philippians softly. I will not argue about its meaning. I will let its idea be a hand that rests on the heart. The sentence says, peace beyond the power of comprehension keeps watch over the heart and mind in Christ Jesus. That is a simple promise. It is present tense. It acts now as a guard. If the mind resists the idea, offer kindness to the resistance. Sit with it without pressure. Sometimes the soul needs to witness the offered peace several times before it yields. The guard is patient. It does not force entry. It waits politely at the door. There is a mercy in this kind of guarding. It keeps a safe distance from the turmoil, enough to let repair begin. Repair need not be loud. It often starts with a relaxed jaw, a slowed breath, a long blink. Small physical shifts signal larger internal movements. Watch for them. Celebrate them in quiet. They are signs that the guard is doing its work. Before I move on, breathe with me one more time. Inhale slowly. Fill the lower ribs. Hold briefly. Exhale long and soft. Feel the chest grow a little lighter. Picture the light under the sternum widening. Let that ring of light stand sentry around the heart and the thinking space. I will read now in a moment. The voice will be slow. The words will be simple. They will not demand complicated answers. They will invite a place of rest that watches without pressuring. Let that place be enough for tonight. When sleep comes, let it arrive in small stages. When wakefulness returns, remember the lamp and the ring and the gentle guard that can be recalled without persuading the whole mind. The presence is near. The peace is present. It tends the heart and mind more faithfully than frantic effort ever could. I stay here a while longer, reading quietly and breathing with the room. The lamp keeps its small circle. The Bible lies open. The promise of peace remains like a small watch at the gate. Rest now, and let that watch do its gentle work. I sit with the book open in my lap. The lamp makes a small, steady circle on the table. My voice moves low and even. The room breathes with us. Tonight I speak of letting go. I read a short line that invites a simple practice. It asks for the small act of handing over what wears the chest thin. The phrase in the letter of Peter nudges us to place anxieties onto a care that is willing and near. The idea is not heavy. It is practical. It is close. Imagine first the hand that receives. Picture a steady hand at the edge of the bed. The hand is warm. It is patient. It does not demand a reason. It only offers to take what you cannot carry tonight. That image is enough to begin. I have carried stones before. They are not large. They are ordinary things called worry, hurry, small fears, the unfinished task, the question that keeps returning. I know how they press the shoulders down. I know how they make sleep thin. Tonight, I ask for one stone to be chosen. Breathe with me. Inhale 2 counts. Hold 1. Exhale slowly for 3. Let the breath steady the body. Each cycle loosens the grip of a single thought. The breath is a small boat. Place one worry into that boat. Now, picture it as a smooth stone on the palm. Name the stone in one soft word. It does not need a long story. Give the worry a simple tag. Call it work, or money, or a person, or fear about tomorrow. Naming is small but exact. Naming makes the thing manageable. Now imagine setting that stone down on a bench. The bench is close. The bench is real in the mind. It will hold the stone. Do not push it away. Lay it gently. Watch the hand lift free for a moment. Feel the immediate change. Even if slight, the shoulders ease a fraction. The jaw lets go a bit. The act of placing is itself a letting go. It models what the scripture suggests. There is an invitation to entrust. Entrusting is not denial. It is not pretending the worry was never heavy. It is a wise decision to stop carrying all the weight alone. I tell a small memory to carry the thought. Once I sat late beside a friend who had kept every burden close for years. Each morning the person rose with the same heaviness, the same set of small stones in pockets. One night, we sat under a streetlight. The friend emptied one pocket. A single stone rolled into the gutter. The sound was small. The face slackened. That one stone mattered. It made room for rest that had not been possible before. Casting anxieties is like that small letting. It begins with one. It does not demand the surrender of everything at once. It asks only for a trust that a hand can and will hold what you offer. The hand is not indifferent. The scriptural call says the care behind that hand notices the smallest pains. The image comforts more than an argument can. Try with me a short gentle ritual. Place a palm on the sternum. Feel the pulse beneath the fingers. Let the heartbeat be a witness. Take a slow breath in. As you breathe out, picture placing one worry from the day onto the palm. See it lie there like a small pebble. Lift the palm and bring it to the edge of the bed, or to the bench in the mind, or into the light of the lamp. Now imagine that steady hand reaching forward and taking the pebble. The transfer is quiet. There is no drama. There is no record kept in a ledger of failings. The hand simply holds it. The hand does not return it unless it is safe to do so. Feel the weight lift where the palm once carried it. If the mind says this is impossible, be gentle with that thought. Resistance often protects a wound. A cautious heart expects to be asked to justify itself. Let the hand in the image wait. The welcome is patient. No form is required tonight. The small act of imagining is enough to train a muscle of trust. The practice may be physical too. Keep a small bowl on the bedside. If it helps, hold a pebble in the hand before sleep. Name it. Feel its edges. Place it in the bowl with a quiet motion. The bowl collects the stones you let go of tonight. It is an external poem of trust. The gesture is simple and safe. The psalm I read earlier and the line from Peter share a tenderness. They do not promise an immediate erasure of trouble. They promise that cares may be set down with someone who will not be careless with them. The trust is that the hand will hold what you give. That holding creates space in the body for rest. Tonight, I invite a second step. After placing a worry in the bowl, in the mind, or on the bench, say one short sentence inwardly. Keep it simple. It might be, help me with this, or I give this to care, or keep this for me. The words need not be long. Their purpose is to make the willingness real. They are a hinge between the mind that holds and the hand that receives. Repeat the breath. Inhale slowly. Hold. Exhale, with the image of the hand taking the thing you named. Let the shoulders soften. Notice the face. Relax. These small changes are not trivial. They are how the body and the soul begin to trust a different arrangement of burden. Daily struggles return sometimes like tide. They come again in new shapes. That is expected. The practice is to take one at a time. One pebble, one paper, one small name, the rhythm of placing, breathing, and handing over trains the night into gentleness. Over weeks and months, the habit shifts the posture of waking life too. There is also an invitation to offer conversation to the one who receives. It is plain and short, a whispered thought, a single honest feeling. The Bible encourages casting cares because care exists to hold them. Speak the word that arises. Say it to the quiet. Do not worry about crafting theology. Simple honesty is enough. If grief sits heavy and resists the transfer, do not force it. Some stones stick in pockets. In those moments, set the pocket open by reaching for one small fragment that is easier to let go. The act of losing one weight makes the others less sharp. Patience steps open the heart's capacity for rest. I keep the lamp low. I read the page slowly. I do not push for answers. I offer the picture and the practice. The line about entrusting worries speaks to a care that knows the shape of every small ache. That knowledge is not a cold fact. It is a quiet compassion. Let that compassion be the ground on which the hand rests. There is a useful image for nights that come with a flood of tasks. Picture a harbour at dusk, boats wait. Tied in neat lines, each boat carries a day's work. At the dock, a steady keeper takes a single rope and ties it to a post. The keeper does not take ownership of the cargo. The keeper steadies the boat. The sailors can rest because someone is keeping watch. Cast one rope tonight. Let the keeper hold it until morning. When sleep finally arrives, do not demand a perfect night. Rest can be patchwork at first. Pockets of sleep come between wakes. Each small sleep is a mercy. Each return to the breath is another handing over. Celebrate those tiny surrenderings. They are the real progress. Before I close this passage, place a hand over the heart again. Feel the small drum. Notice its steady work. That pulse has kept time through storms and calm. It is an ally. Breathe in with appreciation for the steady beat. Breathe out with a quiet offering of one small worry. I will stay here a while longer. My voice will continue slow, and even the lamp will not hurry. The bowl in the mind need not be emptied tonight. There is no checklist. There is only the steady practice of entrusting and resting. If waking returns, the practice is ready to begin again. Name, place, hand over, breathe. The pattern repeats. The hand that receives does not tire. The care behind the hand watches over each small offering. Now, let the breath find its own rhythm. Let the eyelids fold when they are ready. Know that one small stone set down tonight matters. The guard of gentle care holds it. The presence that notices will keep watch. Rest into that watching. I close the book softly in a moment. I will not leave abruptly. I will sit with the lamp until the breathing slows more. Sleep may come. Sleep may wait. Either way, this place remains a quiet practice of handing over. The hand will be steady. The bowl will hold. Rest now, and let the weight be taken for a while. I keep the lamp low and the Bible open. The room breathes with a soft hush. My voice stays low and regular. Tonight I turn to a line that sits like an anchor. It says not to be anxious about anything. It invites a different posture. It asks for simple things, prayers, thanks, requests offered calmly. The promise that follows is of a guarding peace. The peace is not clever. It does not solve every problem at once. It stays steady and close. Prayer is the small pathway I take to that peace. It is not a complex ritual. It is a habit of the heart. It can be a one-sentence offering or a slow list of thanksgiving. The point is to bring what presses in fear, doubt, the long to-do list into a kira room. The act transforms the loudness into something softer. The noise does not vanish. It shifts into a different rhythm. A memory helps me explain. Years ago, a neighbor lived across the hall. She worked nights at a bakery and came home when the world still smelled faintly of warm bread. Her hands were flour-dusted and tired. She never spoke much about the anxieties that came with long hours and thin pay. Instead, she had a small ritual. Before sleep, she would sit by her window, look out at the quiet street, and pray in a steady, brief way. Not long, not ornate. She named 3 things: 1 fear, 1 small gratitude, 1 request for help. She did this without drama and without rehearsing an argument with her mind. Watching her taught me how prayer changes things. The first time I stood with her at the window, the chest felt tight. Thoughts looped. The list of worries ran like a tape. She closed her eyes, and the set of words she used was simple. The voice was soft but sure. After a moment, the jaw loosened. The shoulders dropped. The mind did not suddenly solve the bills or clear the fatigue. Yet the heavy line across the face had softened. Sleep came sooner that night. The change was subtle. It was also unmistakable. That is the kind of transformation Philippians points toward. The verse asks for anxiety to be offered up through prayer and thanksgiving, and it promises a peace that guards heart and mind. The guarding is not a distant shield. It sits close, like a lantern set on a table. The lamp does not prevent the rain. It only makes the room safer to be in during the storm. The same is true for prayer. The practice does not demand an immediate explanation of circumstances. It gives a place to lay them down. Prayer is a simple muscle to exercise. Begin with breath. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out long. With each cycle, name a single thing. A 1-word name will do. The hand may rest on the chest while naming. The tactile contact steadies the moment. Naming keeps worry from multiplying. It places it where a single mind can hold it for a time. Another gentle practice is the breath prayer. Choose a short phrase that fits the heart tonight. Inhale a soothing word. Exhale a receiving phrase. The pattern is small and usable in the dark. It anchors the thought without arguing with it. Obertheim. The phrase will meet fear, not as an opponent, but as a neighbor needing to be heard. Gratitude fits closely with petition. Small thanksgivings change the shape of a request. Before asking, find 2 small mercies from the day. A warm cup, a quick smile, a task finished, however small. A short sentence of thanks turns the posture from grabbing to receiving. The act of noticing what is already good opens the hands to trust. Prayer is not only speaking, listening matters. Quiet space follows a whisper. Sit in the hush a beat longer than feels comfortable. The mind will chatter, lead it. Return to the breath and the gentle phrase, Obertheim. The listening returns a different kind of attention. It is not the need to fix. It is the readiness to be held. There is a small story I carry of a late winter evening. The heater had a soft rattle. The street was still. A friend who had been wrestling with a medical worry came to sit. Words were exhausted. The voice had scraped thin. We did not talk long. Hands rested on our knees. The prayer that came was brief and honest. It moved from fear to asking, and then to thanks. Afterwards, the face looked a little softer. It remained a hard night. The test results were still ahead, yet the mind had a new margin. where panic once took all the space. A corner of the room held a different sound. That corner was prayer. The sound was small, but it shaped the night. Prayer transforms fear by changing the relations of the heart. Fear demands immediate fixing. It asks the chest to hold everything at once. Prayer invites trust. Trust does not equal naivety. It is a disciplined choice to hand over pieces and to rest between offerings. The act of offering itself loosens the grip. The body follows what the heart does. Shoulders relax. Sleep becomes possible. Practical steps help the habit grow. Keep a small notebook on the bedside. Write one sentence before closing the light. It can be a thank you, a request, or a naming of a fear. Writing slows the mind enough to make the offering real. The notebook acts like a finger pointing to the lamp. The act of moving a thought from the head to the page often makes it less loud. Another small practice is spoken blessing. Speak a single line of blessing into the dark for someone else, or for the self. The blessing is not a performance. It is a gentle claim that goodness can touch someone tonight. Saying it aloud makes the mind aware of a hope bigger than the current worry. Do this without pressure. Keep it simple. If sleep resists, anchor to scripture. Read one short verse slowly. Let it land like a small stone in the palm. Do not press it into proof. Let it be an image to return to. The page does not have to carry heavy argument. Its words are a hand offered across the night. Let them be enough. Sometimes fears come wearing many clothes. They appear as anger, sleeplessness, or restlessness. Prayer meets them all indirectly. It does not tidy every detail. It moves the center of gravity, where frantic thinking rules. Prayer invites a steadier heart. The guarding peace of which the letter speaks does not remove facts. It changes the way facts are lived with. A practice that helps with stubborn worry is to offer a prayer of handing over for what seems weightiest. Place the hands on the knees. Name what you cannot carry tonight. Imagine placing it in the palm of care. Picture the palm as warm and firm. Let the image hold the thing. Breathe. Rest. The physical imagining creates a small distance between the self and the worry. That distance is often enough to calm the mind. Make prayer short if the night is loud. A single sentence repeated is powerful. The mind resists long theological constructions in the dark. It needs clarity and rhythm. A repeated line forms a groove the thought can follow. Rhythm steadies. Simplicity wins. Prayer also works in community. A recorded voice. A hymn. A whispered line from the pages read aloud can supply another presence. Sometimes the best prayer is to listen to a steady voice reading the scriptures while the eyes close. The familiarity of that voice and those words can act like a familiar room to enter and rest. The promise in Philippians speaks of peace guarding heart and mind. Guarding is active. It watches not to control, but to keep safe. Think of a small gate that closes the garden without locking out the air. The gate keeps the path clear. It does not hide the weather. Prayer functions like that gate. It keeps a tender care close while the rest of life continues. If doubts about prayer rise, if thinking feels like bargaining, or if trust seems impossible, be gentle. Doubt is often part of prayer. Offer the doubt within the practice. Name it in a simple sentence. Hearing the doubt and placing it in the same room as a short prayer makes the night kinder to itself. Before I read again, I offer a short guided moment. Place a hand over the heart. Breathe in slow. Breathe out long. Name one fear in a single word. Breathe in a short, comforting phrase. Breathe out and imagine the fear resting in a small palm. Spend a few breaths in this rhythm. Do not hurry. Let each cycle be an offering. When the ritual ends, the body often follows with softer muscles and longer pauses between breaths. Sleep may come. If wakefulness returns, the practice is ready to begin again. The work of prayer is not to chain sleep to a promise. It is to return the heart to a steady posture where sleep can visit without fear, turning it into a labor. I will read a few lines now. The pace stays slow. The sentences are short. The light remains small. The room keeps its hush. If weariness is enough, let it carry the eyelids closed. If not, stay a while longer with the breathing and the offering. The prayers are simple. The peace they invite is steady. It guards the heart and the mind in ways that outlast one single night. Rest now with this practice close. Let the prayer be a small hand you can reach for in the dark. The lamp will stay for a while. The pages lie open. The promise moves with us like a quiet companion. Breathe. Name. Offer. Receive the peace that watches gently over the heart. The Bible lies open in my lap. The lamp throws a warm circle over the pages. I breathe slowly and let the night settle around the small room. Tonight I turn to a promise that speaks of repair. The line I read says plainly that health will be restored and wounds will be healed. The words do not rush. They do not demand perfect answers. They offer a steady hope. Healing appears in many shapes. Sometimes it is the closing of a cut. Sometimes it is the quiet rearrangement of a heart that has been broken. Sometimes it is the slow return of sleep. The promise I read holds all of these kinds. It treats the body and the inner life with equal care. The page suggests that healing does not erase memory. It reorders the space where pain once lived, so that life can return. Imagine now the scene of a small room where tending happens. A basin holds warm water. Hands are careful. Ointment rests in a small dish. The act of tending is simple. It is steady. The hands work with calm movements. They do not hurry. Each motion cleans and then covers. The wound is not denied. It is met. The meeting is what begins repair. There is a story I keep in my mind. It is quiet and small. A neighbor once came by, after a long season of illness. The face still showed fatigue. The steps were careful. I read a line from the scripture and placed my hand for a moment on a shoulder. The touch was brief and respectful. Nothing dramatic happened. The breathing eased. The color in the cheek returned a fraction. The most notable thing was that someone had not ignored the wound. The presence was anointment itself. Healing often begins like that, with presence. Presence is not a quick remedy. It is a companionship that sits while the slow work is done. It watches. It feeds. It comforts. presence knows how to wait without becoming impatient. That waiting is not passive. It is a kind of vigilance that nurtures small shifts. If a bruise sits deep inside, it helps to name it. Naming does not make the pain bigger. It helps the mind place the ache on a table where it can be tended. A short phrase will do. Say inwardly, "This is my tiredness," or "This is my grief." Naming is an invitation to healing rather than a demand that it be solved immediately. I invite a small practice now. Place one hand where the pain feels most alive. If the pain is in the chest, lay the palm there. If it sits behind the eyes, rest the fingertips lightly on the temples. If the wound is memory, let the palm hover over the sternum. Keep the breath slow. Breathe in to the count of 2. Hold briefly. Breathe out to the count of 3. With each inhale, picture a gentle warmth entering the area beneath the hand. Imagine it like a soft oil warmed by a lamp. The warmth is not hot. It is enough to ease the edges of tension. With each exhale, imagine the tightness loosening. The body responds to this small rhythm. Muscles enclenche. The jaw eases. The brow smooths in ways that words often cannot accomplish. Restoration is patient work. It does not mean a sudden, complete error. The horizon of healing often arrives in stages. A night of better sleep, a morning with lighter breath, a walk that lasts an extra minute. Celebrate these small returns. Each small sign matters. Notice one tiny improvement from the last day. Hold it softly in the mind and offer a quiet thanks. There is a kind of mending that uses time as a tool. Time allows tissues to knit. Time allows memory to be reinterpreted. Time lets the body rebuild strength. Time is a slow, faithful companion. Trusting time does not mean passive resignation. It means choosing steady steps over forced leaps. Let the pace tonight be patient. Let small victories be enough. Scars are part of the story. They are proof that healing occurred. A scar does not erase the original hurt. It records that pain was met, and that the body and heart moved through the damage into repair. See scars as maps rather than marks of failure. Each map shows a path taken, a survival practice. That view does not diminish the ache that once was. It honors the way strength grew out of weakness. There is an honesty about asking for help. It is not a sign of lack. It is a wise step. Carrying wounds alone makes them heavier. Laying them down with another hand lifts weight. The scripture I read invites such an exchange. It imagines a care that knows how to hold brokenness. The language is simple. Something will be returned to health. The promise is not conditional on perfection. It is available in the middle of real, messy life. Take another breath with me. Inhale 2 counts. Hold 1. Exhale 3. Picture a gentle light at the place of pain. See it move very slowly, like sap rising in a tree. It coats the inner tissue with warmth and gentleness. Imagine the light smoothing the edges. The pace is deliberate. It does not race. It moves with small, certain gestures. Sometimes healing requires external tending too. Rest, adequate food, small movement. and fresh air help the body rebuild if sleep has been scarce. Let tonight be a night where rest is honored as part of repair. A warm drink, a quiet room, and a soft blanket are not luxuries. They are practical companions to restoration. Physical care is not separate from spiritual care. They work together. Grief and regret sometimes lodge like splinters beneath the skin. They can be tender and easy to ignore. Give those things gentleness. Picture a calm hand easing the splinter out. The motion is careful and not sudden. The relief is real afterward. Even if the mark remains for a time, that attention to small pain is a path toward larger healing. Hope lives inside these slow motions. It does not pretend the road will be without bumps. It does insist that repair belongs to the future and to this present moment. Restoration is a present work that opens into more light ahead. Trust that small changes are happening even when they are hardly noticeable. They add up over days and weeks. If bitterness clings, imagine pouring clean water on the place. Water is not a magic solvent. It is a simple agent that loosens and softens. Watch resentment loosen, like dried mud softened by rain. The work may take repeats. Keep returning with the same small acts of kindness and attention. Healing likes rhythm. It responds to steady care more than to dramatic gestures. I will offer a brief, simple sentence to hold in the heart. It is not a formula. It is an invitation. Repeat it slowly if it helps restore and heal. Steady the heart. Say it as a gentle claim. Let it be a companion for the breath. Use it without pressure. Let the sound of the sentence sink into the room like a small knot of comfort. Now, I invite a short act of gratitude. Think of one small kindness received in the day. A hand that held a cup. A word that did not accuse. A window that lets sunlight in. Hold that kindness in the mind as you breathe in. Breathe out with thanks. Gratitude does not overwrite pain. It sits beside it and makes a little room for hope. If the wound is deep and the night seems long, know this healing can be a long apprenticeship. Expect seasons. Expect the need for helpers. Expect times when the body feels stronger and times when it feels fragile again. The promise of restoration is not a single event. It is an ongoing tending, the practice of returning to slow breath, steady light, and small acts of care becomes the new rhythm of healing. Before I close the page, I invite a simple prayer of gratitude and trust. It need only be a few short lines offered silently or aloud. Begin by placing a hand over the heart. Breathe in, breathe out. Say inwardly, "Thank you for care that heals." Then say, "I trust the steady work of restoration." Keep the words brief. Let them be true rather than ornate. Rest here for a few moments after the prayer. Keep the palm where it is. Feel the pulse. Notice any small change in the chest. Allow the quiet to settle. Healing often continues while the eyes are closed and the breath is soft. The presence that watches over wounds does not tire. It continues to tend. When sleep comes, let it be gentle. Let the night keep the small acts of repair safe. If wakefulness returns, return to the breath and the small sentence of trust. The lamp will be here when needed. The pages will be open when the hour asks for steady words. Restoration moves slowly. But it moves. Rest now, and let the work of healing continue in the quiet of the night. I hold the Bible in my lap. The lamp makes a small circle of light. My voice stays low. The room breathes with us. Tonight, I speak of grace in times of weakness. The pages I read say a simple thing. Grace meets need. Strength arrives through our frailty. The idea is quiet and startling at once. It means help comes not only when strength bursts forth, but also when hands are empty and the chest feels thin. Paraphrasing that line, I say it like this: grace is more than enough for what is lacking. Power shows up exactly where weakness sits. The promise does not demand readiness. It leans close to the tired and the broken. It fills the fragile spaces without harshness. This truth sits beside a memory I carry. It is a small, honest story about someone I love. The story is not flashy. It is tender. It happened in slow pieces and in quiet ways. A family member grows weaker one winter. The body tires more quickly. Steps shorten. Tasks that used to take a morning now take an afternoon. Pride and patience get tested. The eyes sometimes hold a puzzled look, as if memory is a room with a few lights turned off. The house fills with gentle routines that new hands learn to do. Meals are softer. Chairs are moved closer to windows. The clock slows. The first weeks are practical. Doctors speak in measured sentences. Medications are arranged on a small tray. Appointments stack like soft papers. We learn how to sing a simple schedule into each day. The work is quiet. It is mostly about noticing. A cup refilled. Socks pulled up. A window cracked open for fresh air. The errands that once seemed heavy become acts of devotion. The small tasks add up into a care that feels like a shawl. One night I sit by the bed and read scripture slowly. The way I read now, words come as gentle wood smoke. They do not offer technical language. They speak like a neighbor who notices the unspoken and brings a pot of stew. The person listens with a tired smile. The presence in the room is steady. The breathing eases. Days pass. And some nights are harder. The body resists rest. The mind wanders to lists and questions. I keep returning to the line about grace. I keep telling it softly, not as proof, but as a friend. Grace is sufficient for this. Power is born in the soft places. The phrase lands like a hand that rests on a shoulder. Then a small thing begins to change. It is not sudden like a headline. It is like dawn. The voice, once thin in the mornings, gains a steadier note. The hands find aim again for a cup. A walk around the yard lasts another minute. A laugh slips in at the edge of a sentence and lingers. Pain does not vanish. There are still nights of worry and hard questions, but an ease arrives in the middle of the difficulty. The ease looks like acceptance and like a strengthening of spirit. I watch how that ease works. Weakness does not disappear. Instead, it becomes a place where different strength grows. Hands that used to hide need learn to ask. Eyes that feared being a burden accept the help that comes without judgment. The family member. once proud and solitary, leans into company. The act of leaning is itself an exercise of strength. It takes courage to be seen as small and still be cherished. Healing shows up in subtle forms. A scar becomes less raw. Appetite improves. Sleep gains new stretches. The person walks a little farther. A new habit emerges of gratitude for small mercies. The tone of the house softens. Grace is not a quick fix. It is a presence that keeps doing the work when the pride or panic would have kept it from beginning. There is one evening that matters most in the remembering. The rain comes soft against the window. The lamp makes a warm pool. I read a short portion, and then I sit with the hand resting on the sternum. The family member rests a palm over mine. No words are necessary. The contact is simple and exact. In that touch, grace is not an abstract word. It is a warm palm and a steady breath. The chest rises and falls with the old rhythm. The eyes close slowly and do not flicker with fear. For a long minute, the whole room seems to breathe with that steadiness. That moment teaches something vital. Strength does not always show as muscle or speed. Often it looks like trust. It looks like the willingness to be held. The weakness that once felt like a fault becomes a doorway. Through it, care comes in a form that would not have fit any other way. The family member gains more than physical mending. There is a peace that grows. It is not the absence of difficulty. It is a calm acceptance that rests on something wider than the changing body. I think of the paraphrased line again, where weakness is honest. Power fits like a gentle glove. The power is not the same as being untouched by pain. It is the ability to stand with pain without being crushed by it. I see grace at work in the small things we do. A neighbor brushes a path of snow without being asked. A grandchild brings a drawing and leaves it on the nightstand. A phone call comes with a simple hello. Not a performance. These gestures do not erase suffering. They weave a net beneath it. The net does not spare the fall. It softens the landing. Sometimes healing is physical. A strength returns that surprises the body. A limp eases. The cough recedes. The doctor uses steady, hopeful words. We celebrate, not as if cure proves something about worth, but as if life is a string of small lights that return after a storm. We hold those lights gently and give thanks. Other times healing is more about spirit. Where once there is fear, there is now a readiness to trust the quiet care of others. The person speaks of childhood memories with a new softness. Old grievances lose their sharpness. The ability to forgive springs in unexpected places. It is as if weakness makes room for grace to arrange the heart differently. In all of this, prayer is not a theory. Prayer is a practice that changes posture. Short prayers rise like small offerings. They are simple, a naming of need, a brief thank you, a request placed in a small bowl of words. The act of naming helps. It makes the worry manageable. The habit of offering shapes the night. The practice does not force miraculous theatrics. It invites presence. I teach a small ritual for nights. When the chest grows tight, place a hand on the sternum. Breathe slowly. Name one thin place in one soft word. Imagine that word resting on the palm. Offer it. and allow a larger hand to take it. The image is simple. The action is small. Yet the body responds. Muscles let go by a fraction. The mind finds a quieter edge. Or team. This small practice trains a capacity to rest into grace when weakness arrives. There is dignity in weakness when it is met with tender, steady care. The dignity comes not from holding up appearance. It comes from the honest admission that help is needed, and from the acceptance of it. That admission is not less than strength. It is a different kind of courage, one that redefines what it means to stand. If the listener bears a private weakness tonight, know there is a way for power to meet that place quietly. It does not shame. It does not demand doing more. It leans close and works patiently. The room of the heart becomes like a warm, small house where repairs can be made without hurry. The mending is practical, steady, and often hidden from the headlines. It is enough. I close the Bible slowly after the story. The lamp glows a little longer. The hand that rested on the sternum stays there for a breath. The night feels less sharp. The rhythm of breath becomes a kind of hymn. Before rest arrives, do a small thing. Lay the palm on the chest again. Breathe in to the count of 2. Hold. Breathe out to the count of 3. Think one quiet line that makes sense for the moment. It can be a short, thankful phrase. It can be a simple offering of a worry. Keep the words few. Let them settle like a soft cloth over the chest. If sleep comes, let it be slow and gentle. If wakefulness returns, start the breath again. Call the small ritual back into the room. Let the presence that meets weakness be the main fact of the night. Trust that grace is sufficient, and that power can be made perfect in the places that feel most broken. I stay a while longer in the lamplight. The Bible rests in my hands. The room keeps its hush. Rest now. Let hands loosen. Let the chest ease. Let the quiet work of grace attend to what is weak. The promise holds. Sleep when it comes. I will be here, reading, breathing, and keeping the lamp on until the breath slows and the night leans toward morning. The lamp is low. The Bible rests open in my lap. My voice moves slow and calm. The room listens with its own breathing. I sit here because words steady. They make a small path through the dark. They do not hurry. They do not demand clever answers. Tonight I turn to a short line that sits like a small stone in the hand. It asks that trials be considered with a kind of joy. It names trials as teachers. The point is simple. Hard things test faith, and those tests produce endurance. The sentence is not a command to smile at pain. It is an invitation to notice what grows when the night is long. I remember a season that taught this lesson in small, quiet ways. It is an ordinary memory. It is not heroic. It is close enough to touch. The week begins with a phone call that changes plans. Work falters. A paycheck delays. The kitchen light is softer because a bulb is burned out, and nobody has the spare. Shoes are patched with hope and care. The list of needs is modest and pressing. The heart tightens in the chest. Sleep thins. Questions pile like clothes on a chair. At first, the response is a tightness in the jaw and a long run of inner bargaining. Why now? The mind asks. The head rehearses a dozen solutions. Then worries. They will not be enough. That tension is very human. I sit with it. I do not pretend the worry is not real. I let the feeling be present without letting it run the household. I begin with small practices learned over many nights. A slow breath to the count of 2. Hold for a heartbeat. Exhale long to the count of 3. The pattern calms. The ribs loosen. The shoulders drop by a fraction. The simple rhythm is a bridge between a fast mind and a steadier center. Next comes the naming. I take one single worry from the stack and give it a short name, not a full story. One word is enough. Rent. Medicine. Next week meal. Naming makes the worry a thing I can set down, instead of a storm I must hold. It is a small, practical mercy. I place the named worry on the bench in my mind. The act is tiny. It matters because it trains the hands to let go. Then I offer that stone to the care the pages speak about. I do not argue theology. I simply hand it over in a single, quiet phrase that is more like a breath than a speech. The offering is honest and brief. In the days that follow, the strain does not vanish immediately. There are still small interruptions. The washer still breaks. The coffee still runs low. But a new pattern appears. People arrive in small ways. A neighbor drops off extra eggs without ceremony. A friend sends a short message that says simply, "I am here." A small job comes through that pays for a week. These things are not grand. They are ordinary acts that show a different logic at work, that burdens lighten when shared and when offered. The longer change is the slow mending inside. The mind that had been brittle begins to learn patience, faith. In this small lab is not a sudden giant leap. It is the daily practice of handing one little worry over, breathing, and then taking the next. Endurance grows by repetitions. Joy is not manufactured cheer. It is a deepened confidence that life can be carried one small step at a time. There is a particular night when the teaching becomes clear. The rain makes the porch boards shine. The house is quieter than usual. I open the Bible and read the reminder again about finding joy in trials. The phrase sits near the lamp like a candled note. I fold the page gently and rest my palm on the book. The heart slows. The thought does not insist that suffering is pleasant. It says that struggle is a ground where faith is strengthened. Building faith in the middle of trouble looks like ordinary things done faithfully. It looks like waking and making tea, even when hands are tired. It looks like answering one small email rather than solving the whole problem at once. It looks like asking for help and receiving it. It looks like saying thank you for a small mercy and believing another will come. These acts are not dramatic. They are steady. A neighborly hand is part of the lesson. I recall a woman down the street who lost her husband in slow stages. The room she returned to each evening was full of small rituals. A cup warmed on the stove. A sweater folded with care. A door always unlocked for visitors. When a new trouble came, an unpaid bill. A broken window, others who had watched her steady grief. now gave back small supports. They did not preach. They showed up. That presence taught that faith persists, because community keeps showing up when strength is thin. Joy that grows in trials is quiet at first. It must be looked for with care. It is a sunrise that arrives at a slow angle. It shows in small changes of tone. A laugh at a temporary absurdity. A hand that reaches out before an explanation is given. A mind that trusts a few more breaths can be taken than the fear predicts. These are tiny proofs that something larger is working beneath the surface. I teach a short exercise that helps notice the growth. Take 3 breaths. With each inhale, name one small mercy from the day. It might be a warm drink, a call that did not push too hard, a child's drawing on the fridge. Let gratitude sit in the chest like a small stone. When worry returns, return to those stones. They provide ballast. The building of faith is also a learning about limits. Adversity loosens the illusion of complete control. The realization is freeing. It opens the hands to receive, rather than always to hold. Power is not equated with independence. Strength becomes the capacity to be held and to let others hold in turn. The paradox that James names joy in trials makes sense here. The joy grows because a different kind of power is discovered. It is not the power to prevent trouble. It is the power to live within trouble and be changed by it. There are nights when the chest closes again. The mind can wheel back to its old rehearsals. In those moments, a patient routine helps. Read a short verse. Close the eyes. Breathe. Place the hand over the sternum. The pulse is a quiet witness of persistence. Speak a small sentence inwardly. I will step through this hour. The words are not magic. They are practice. Practice shapes character. Sometimes the growth of faith shows in giving what remains. When resources are thin, generosity looks different. A share of time, a spare blanket, a listening ear. The act of giving, no matter how small, teaches that scarcity is not the final law. There is a rhythm of receiving and sharing that keeps the human household alive. This rhythm reinforces the belief that the supply of mercy is not exhausted. I avoid grand promises. I do not pretend suffering will always lead to a tidy result. Life is not a simple equation. Yet I have seen, again and again, that hearts mended in the middle of trouble learn patience and tenderness. They learn to watch for small evidences of care. Those evidences become bones in the skeleton of faith. Before sleep, practice one more small ritual with me. Find a worry on the bench in your mind. Name it in one soft word. Breathe slowly. As you exhale, imagine the bench passing the worry to an open hand. Do this once. Let the shoulders ease. Let the face soften. Stay with the lamp a moment longer if that helps. Joy does not banish the night. It sits with the night and gives it a different tone. It is a warmth that survives even when the day is cold. The lesson James gives is not an abstract theory, but a practical path. Trials test. Faith grows. Perseverance forms. Joy appears as the steady companion of endurance. I close the Bible gently. The room keeps its hush. The breath slows. The heart remembers the small practices. Rest is not a denial of trouble. It is a wise pause where the heart gathers strength. Sleep may come, If it does not, return to the bench. Name one small worry. Breathe. Place it in an open hand. Let the presence that watches do the steady work. I stay a little while longer. My hand rests on the book. The lamp throws a soft circle. The promise of growth in hardship is held like a small lamp in the chest. Let that light be enough for tonight. Rest now, and let faith take its slow, patient shape as the breath deepens and the night leans toward morning. The lamp is steady. The Bible rests open on my knees. My voice stays low. The room breathes with us. Tonight I turn to a simple line I keep returning to. It asks that the mind be renewed, not merely reshaped by the noise around it. The phrase says, "Do not let the world set the pattern. Instead, let the word remap the heart." I do not argue about meanings. I simply sit with the invitation. It feels like a fresh window opened in a room that has grown dusty. This is not a demand for perfection. It is a tender invitation to change little by little. The change begins in the place where thoughts live. The mind is like a field. The seed that falls there will shape what grows. If angry seeds drop each morning, a thicket of sharpness will appear. If gentle words are sown, the day tilts kinder. The pages I read suggest sowing different seed. I tell a small story now. It is true and quiet. It begins with a time when the days feel thin and a little loud. Tasks pile like same-colored shirts on a chair. The head runs lists at night. Sleep grows shallow. The identity I thought steady feels sifted by expectations. Pride tightens the chest. Worry colors small decisions. At first, no grand crisis arrives. The trouble is slow. It is the erosion of steady hope. The voice in the mind begins to define worth by output. The measure becomes task, not presence. The hands work. The heart grows small. I open the Bible in the lamplight because habit calls. The pages are worn in familiar places. The reading starts as a discipline. A short verse each morning, a single line at night. No grand study, just small, steady exposure. The practice is plain. One verse a day, a short sentence. Read it slowly. Let it be like a drop of water on thirsty soil. Repeat it through the day when worries crowd in. Carry it into small moments, waiting at a bus stop, washing a dish, folding a towel. The word takes on life in the hands. The first weeks bring small events. A harsh thought arises, and the chosen verse surfaces like a soft bell. The reaction does not evaporate. It eases. The jaw unclenches a fraction. The breath lengthens. That small change surprises. Relief does not need argument. It needs a different pattern to practice. I begin to memorize short lines, not for show, for the mind's sake. The lines become clothes the thinker can put on when old garments feel too tight. Memory does not mean perfect recall. It means a ready phrase that interrupts the chain of worry. A single rerouted thought can be a doorway. The renewal takes shape slowly. It is like a walk I take in the garden after the lamp is put down. The path is soft. The apple tree leans like an old friend. I walk and recite the line like a breath prayer. Breathe in the first half. Breathe out the second half. The rhythm is small and steady. The mind follows the feet. One morning I go into a room where negotiation waits. The pulse rises. Old patterns push toward harsh words. The remembered verse comes like a gentle hand. A different tone slips into my speech. The conversation stays clearer. It does not mean everything resolves. It does mean the heart does not harden so quickly. The most difficult season comes later. A loss arrives that is heavy, blanchiffed. The body keeps awake in the small hours. Old fears knock with persistent hands. The old habit would be to circle those fears on a mental map and defend the borders. Instead, the practice of small lines opens a different way of living in the dark. I read a page, and then I sit. A hand goes to the sternum. The pulse beats like a quiet drum. I repeat a short sentence from the pages. The words do not change the facts. They change the way the chest contains the facts. The heart learns to make room for sorrow, without letting sorrow become the whole house. Transformation here is not a sudden conversion scene. It is a series of small resignations. One worry is surrendered. One grudge is pruned. The mind learns new habits. Instead of echoing an anxious phrase, the lips form a prayer of release. The practice of returning to the word becomes a muscle. It strengthens the ability to look again and to see differently. Practical practices help. Before sleep, I choose one short verse. I read it slowly 3 times. I close the eyes and let the words fall like a soft cloth over the thoughts. If resistance rises, I name it gently and return. The repetition is not rote. It is a way of reorienting toward a steady voice. Another small practice is to journal a single line. Lay the verse down on paper and write one sentence about how it touched the day. Keep the page simple. The act of writing anchors the thought. It makes the word less like a concept and more like a companion. Memory and presence change behavior. Quickness to react softens. Grace within the home becomes more visible. Small acts follow offering a coffee. Closing a door gently. Listening without stitching together an answer too fast. These actions are not dramatic. They are proof of a mind that has been renewed. Not by a formula, but by steady exposure to a different thread of thought. The pages also teach to think with mercy. When self-accusation begins, the old pattern pulls toward longer chastisement. Now a brief pause finds a line that reminds me of receiving, not earning. The pause is a break in the chain that used to tighten the chest, or what's him. Compassion for the self and others grows easier. I share this because renewal is practical. It is not only about lofty ideals. It is small and workmanlike. The Bible becomes a habitual place to return, not for scoring, but for reorienting. The mind is trained gently. The practice offers a steady alternative when the world's small urgencies clamor. There is also a guard against despair. Repeated exposure to the word reclaims small stories of mercy. The memory of kindness multiplies. Gratitude becomes a practice like morning light pouring in. It does not deny sorrow. It frames sorrow within a wider story. Do not expect perfection. That is part of the tenderness here. Change is uneven. Some nights, the old patterns return like a wind that knocks at the door. The chosen lines do not always stop the gust. They steady the hangings. They make a place where repair is possible. One evening, I sit and read about renewal again. The lamp is low. The breath is slow. I lay the hand on the Bible and let the lines sink. A peace comes that does not need to explain itself. The mind rests in the possibility that change can happen through small, faithful steps. If you choose to practice this, begin small. Pick one short verse. Read it slowly once in the morning. Carry it through the day in a sentence or two. Revisit it at night. Offer it to the places that keep you awake. Let it be a slow instruction to the way thoughts habitually run. A couple of gentle tools help keep the habit. A small card on the nightstand with a line written on it. A bowl with a pebble for each worry that is placed there in the mind. A breath prayer that folds the verse into the rhythm of breathing. These practicalities are humble but effective. Remember that renewal is not about erasing struggle. It is about changing the script that shapes reactions. Instead of replaying a loop of fear or shame, the mind begins to follow a different groove, or team. The different groove directs choices, speech, and sleep. Tonight, as always, a short practice waits. Place a hand over the heart. Breathe in to the count of 2. Hold. Breathe out for 3. Choose one brief line from the pages. Let it sit like a small lantern at the sternum. Repeat it softly with the breath. Do not judge what comes. Receive the words as a gift. I close with a simple assurance. Renewal is a patient work. It asks for repeated small acts. It refuses to hurry. The lamp will remain until sleep comes. The Bible will lie open and steady. The practice of letting the word reshape thought is not a project of perfection, but a habit of gentleness. Rest now with that invitation. Let the chosen line sink in. Let the breath keep time with the word. Let the mind be remapped one quiet habit at a time. The work goes on even in sleep. The presence that nudges the heart toward new patterns is near. Breathe. Receive. Rest. The renewal continues in the small, steady places of the night. I settle into the familiar circle of light and open the Bible slow. The pages make a soft sound. Breath finds the steady pattern again. The night listens. Tonight I read a line I have carried for years. It asks for trust that is whole, not partial. It asks for a leaning that is simple and honest. The promise that follows is quiet and exact. Let the thought land without needing to solve everything at once. Trust here is not a test. It is a practice. It begins with one small handing over. The work is patient. Trust grows by tiny gestures. The same way a tree grows toward light. Imagine a narrow footbridge over a slow river. The wood is smooth from many feet. Lanterns hung at intervals. Not to force the path, but to offer small circles of sure footing. A child crosses with a small hand in an older hand. The child does not measure every plank. The child steps because a familiar hand steadies the shoulder. Each footfall is a tiny decision to trust the guidance being offered. This is the image I give tonight. It is simple and warm. It does not flatter anxiety. It offers a shape for rest. I read the line again in my mind. It calls for trust beyond what feels safe, to reason. It invites a surrender that is practical. Surrender here is not surrender to confusion. It is a mindful laying down. The act is precise. Name one worry, place it in the palm. Offer it with the breath. The hand that receives is steady. There was a season when every plan felt brittle, directions blurred, decisions multiplied like leaves in a wind. In that stretch, trust looked like choosing one small next step, rather than trying to map the whole journey at once. A single direction made the remainder manageable. A lamp became enough. I tell a bedtime story now. It is a quiet parable of a traveler and a star. A traveler walks in the evening. Across a plain, mist rises in low places. The ground is familiar and new at the same time. The traveler carries a small pack. The pack holds maps and charts that have helped before. Tonight, the maps smudge in the rain. The ink runs. The traveler feels the old certainty slip. Up above, a single star appears. It is not the brightest in the sky, nor the most complicated to name. It is steady. It sits where the horizon meets the dark. The traveler looks up and remembers a simpler kind of guidance, learned long ago. Not every star gives a full map. Some only show a line to follow for the next mile. The traveler breathes. A next step is chosen. The traveler trusts that star for the bit of the path ahead. Each step lands on the ground that appears. The star does not solve every question. It does not undo the rain that has blurred plans. But it keeps pointing. The traveler's pace slows. Fear does not punish. It becomes companionable rather than commanding. When a sudden gust lifts the edges of a cloak and almost knocks the lantern, the traveler steadies both lantern and pack. The hand that steadies is not forced into control. It only keeps watch. In that small watchfulness, the path feels possible. This story is not a promise that the storm will never come. It is a witness to a different posture in storms. The star does not remove the night. It offers a direction. The traveler learns to follow one honest light instead of being overwhelmed by a sky of competing advice. Trust works the same way. It is not a sudden leap into the void. It is a decision to follow a steady light, a single step at a time. It is a habit that trains the limbs to move without needing every certainty. Now a small practice. Place a hand on the chest and feel the steady beat beneath the fingers. Breathe in slow. Hold briefly. Breathe out long. Name one thing that presses tonight. Short and plain. A single word does well work. Money. Fear. Tomorrow. Imagine holding that word like a small, smooth stone. Picture the stone being set on a bridge plank. Do not throw it. Place it. Watch the lantern light hit its edge. A steady hand reaches from the other side. It is warm. It takes the stone without judgment. Feel a fraction of the weight. Leave the shoulder. Repeat the breath. Each inhale returns a little steadiness. Each exhale quiets a quick thought. This pattern trains the habit of surrender in a practical way. There will be times when resistance rises. The mind will insist on carrying the stone longer. That is expected. Resistance often protects a wound. Meet it gently. Return to the breath. Place another small stone if necessary. The work is patient. The hand waiting on the other side does not scold. It only receives. Trust also means choosing wisdom in small steps. It does not forbid careful thought. It changes the posture from frantic control to measured guidance. When the traveler consults a map, the star still helps with the next line. The two work together. Reason can prepare a route. Trust keeps the feet steady when the map blurs. I remember a time when a family member faced a hard decision. The options were all imperfect. Each plan held loss, rather than rush to choose. A short season of prayer and quiet was taken. Both hands were set to work. Practical details were arranged one by one. At night, the Bible was read quietly. The heart was allowed to hand over the noise. The choice came with less clench in the chest. The result was not perfect. It was wiser because the mind had rested long enough to see clearly. Trust is not a one-time event. It is a continual returning. The traveler does not arrive at the end of journey and then never look at the star again. Each night, the star is consulted for the next mile. The rhythm becomes a way of life. The body learns the pace. The heart grows roomier. If control was once mistaken for safety, tell it gently. Safety is often found where hands are willing to be guided. The bridge is strong when weight is shared. Trust is shared weight. It needs no loud assurances. It needs steady presence. A few practical notes for the night. Keep a small card by the bedside. Write one word on it for tonight's worry. Read it slowly once before sleep. Breathe and imagine setting that word on the plank. Then rest the hand. Repeat the practice in the morning if needed. The small ritual becomes an anchor. Another small help. Picture a simple lantern at the edge of thought. Not a floodlight, a lantern. It does not banish the dark. It allows safe steps. Return to that lantern when the mind grows loud. Name one step you can take tomorrow. Keep it small. Put the rest back in the palm of care. Trust in God. As the line suggests, asks for wholehearted reliance. That does not mean abandoning thought. It means aligning steps to a softer authority. Let the feeling of being known by a steady presence do its work. Let it ease the jaw. Let it lengthen the breath. The promise that the path will be made straight is not a mechanical trick. It is a way of life that chooses the next faithful step over frantic mapping. The path straightens not always by flattening obstacles, but by giving clearer footing and steadier companionship. The feet find rhythm. The heart learns to trust rhythm over frantic speed. If worry returns in the night, show it the lantern kindly. Offer the short ritual again. Name the worry. Breathe. Place. Hand over. Rest. These tiny acts are the practice of trust. Over time, they reroute anxious habits. I read a small verse now. Slowly. And let the words fall like a soft rope down into the chest. The language is gentle. It does not shame. It invites leaning. For this hour, let leaning be enough. Before sleep comes, make one more small gesture. Place a hand over the sternum. Feel the pulse. Breathe in gently and say to the heart, in a single short sentence, I will trust the next step. Breathe out. Let the body answer. Rest is not the end of responsibility. It is the wise custody of strength. Surrender tonight does not unload courage. It preserves it. Trusting a steady presence keeps courage from burning out. I close the book for a moment and keep the hand where the pulse is felt. The lamp dips low. The room hushes. If wakefulness returns, the lantern will be here. The practice will be ready. Return to it and place another small stone. I stay a little while. Breath and the small phrases settle the mind. The star in the story keeps its place. The hand on the other side does not tire. Surrender into trust is a patient path. Follow one step. Rest when the foot is set. Trust will keep watch as the night moves toward morning. Sleep now. When it comes, with the hand over the chest and the small stone set down, allow the lantern to watch over the crossing. I will read again tomorrow. For tonight, let trust be enough. I sit again in the lamp's circle. The Bible lies open on my knees. The room breathes slow. My voice moves in quiet pulses. Tonight I bring a single line to rest between us. It is a promise about peace. I do not recite words to debate. I read them to settle the body. I read them to steady the chest. The peace Jesus leaves is not the same as the peace the world offers. Worldly peace often feels like a tidy house. It requires everything to be in order. It asks for explanations and plans. It depends on the weather of circumstances. When things change, that peace can leave quickly. It is useful at a table. It is fragile in a storm. The peace that comes from Christ is different. It is like a deep room inside the chest. It is not a tidy house. It is a shelter. It is calm under the noise. The shelter stands, even when the wind bangs at the windows. It is not silence by force. It is a steady hush beneath the surface sound. I read a passage that promises this kind of peace. The line says, "The spirit of calm will remain." It will not be the same as what the world calls calm. It is not dependent on clocks or checks. It comes as a quieting that keeps the heart and the mind. That promise is present tense. It is not only for some future day. It is available now. Picture the lamp on the table as the world's small piece. It lights a circle. It keeps shadows soft nearby. Outside that circle, traffic continues. Within that circle, there is enough to rest for a while. Now picture a deep well of water under the floor. The well is cool and slow. It does not flash. It does not depend on the lamp. That well is the other kind of peace. You can feel its cold if you sit still long enough. It steadies the slower places of the body. I teach a short practice for calling that well into the waking moment. Keep the breath slow. Breathe in 2 counts. Pause a beat. Breathe out 3 counts. Place a hand on the sternum. Feel the pulse beneath the skin. Say nothing aloud. Let the thought be a small inward gesture. I accept this quiet. The words need not be theology. They are a permission in the heart. As you breathe, imagine a soft light under the sternum. It is not bright. It is a small lantern that warms the inside. Each breath fans that lantern a little. The light does not banish life's problems. It simply makes them easier to carry. Where the chest once clenched, the lantern creates a space. Inside that space, decisions do not need to be made in panic. The next step becomes visible. Worldly calm often tries to fix the surface first. It smooths ruffled feathers and arranges plates. The other calm enters beneath. It helps the hands stay steady while the plates are being set. The two are not enemies. They work in different registers. Tonight, I invite the deeper kind. There is no pressure to produce an immediate result. The presence I read about is patient. It is like a neighbor who comes with a steaming cup and sits on the porch. The neighbor does not demand a story. The neighbor simply stays until the breathing slows. That staying is a kind of peace. I remember a night waiting for word in a hospital corridor. The clock wore late. The noise was white. I opened the Bible and read the line about peace that surpasses question. Nothing dramatic happens at first. Then a small thing occurs. Shoulders drop a fraction. The jaw unclenches. The mind that had been running like a small animal in a maze finds a straight path for a few steps. The presence does not change the facts in the hallway. It simply steadies the person who waits there. The body responds to peace as a thing you practice. The pulse slackens with the breath. Muscular tissue let go. Tension that once sat like knots in the neck loosens strand by strand. This is not a quick miracle that erases history. It is a gentler work, a slow unwrapping. The task is to allow that piece to do its work without expecting immediate completion. I read the sentence again. Slowly, I put my palm over the page and let the rhythm of the words become a slow tide. The tide does not remove the banks. It gently rearranges the sand. Over time, the landscape looks different. Small things change. The sleep that used to break into pieces begins to hold for longer stretches. Worry still visits. It no longer rules the night. A small practice that fits well into the dark follows. Find a single worry. Give it one short name. Hold it as if it were a small stone. Place it in your palm. Breathe. Imagine lowering the stone into the well beneath the floor. Watch it disappear. The act is symbolic. The symbol teaches a muscle. The next time a worry rises, the hand moves in the practiced way. The chest follows. Forgiveness and acceptance belong to this same piece. When a person forgives, tension loosens. The action does not make hurt trivial. It makes room. In that space, the deeper piece can live. It will not push grief into a hidden cupboard. It sits with sorrow and lightens its weight like someone propping up a weary load. Now, a brief guided breathing for tonight. Breathe in slowly. To 2, hold briefly. Breathe out long. To 3, count the breath through the sternum, not the head. Let the voice inside be a single soft phrase. Peace is here. Do not demand proofs. Let the phrase be a place to rest. Repeat it as the breath moves. Let the room and the slow voice form a small shelter. The promise of peace does not remove the need for wisdom. There are times when action is required. In those moments, the calm makes the hands steadier. Decisions made from a quiet heart tend to be clearer. The mind that has a steady center sees options without being pulled by frantic insistence. The gift is both present and practical. If fear presses tonight, name it gently. Place a hand on the sternum and feel the pulse. Imagine the pulse as a patient watchman who keeps time so you do not have to scramble. The watchman does not scold. He keeps watch. In the steady watching, the night stops feeling like something to be battled and starts feeling like a place to be tended. I read softly now for a few lines. The tone is spare and calm. The sentences fall like small stones into a pool. Let each ripple soften the next awake thought. Do not force sleep. Allow the room to receive you. Allow the peace to cover the immediate edges of worry. Now, I turn to the last piece I will share tonight. The hour is quieting. The book has given us many small practices. The lamp still burns low. The session is near its close. A short ending will hold the room and send the breath slowly toward morning. Place a hand over the heart if that feels right. Feel its steady work. Let the breathing keep the same slow rhythm. Think one tiny thanksgiving from the day. It may be a cup warmed by a friend. It may be a small kindness received. Offer that thanks as a breath. Gentle gratitude opens the chest like a window. The light that comes in is not grand. It is enough. Before I finish, a small blessing for the night. I do not speak it as doctrine. I say it as a wish that rests heavy, with care. May the peace that is not of the world keep the heart and the thinking safe. May the lamp of calm burn in the chest, while the mind rests. May breath be slow. May hands loosen. The hour approaches its close. The Bible closes gently. I do not slam a door. I do not end with finality. The lamp is left low. The room remains a place of quiet keeping. If wakefulness returns later, come back to this little practice. Breathe. Place a hand on the sternum. Name one small worry. Let the deeper calm take it for a while. Sleep when it comes. Let it come without hurry. There is no duty here. Only invitation. Rest is not a failure. It is a wise act. Let the night do its gentle work. I sit a little while longer. The light grows dim. The breathing slows. The promise of peace rests like a small stone in the palm. Now farewells are soft. I will read again another night. The lamp will be ready. The pages will open. For now, let the breath move slow. Let the chest be steady. Let the peace remain and keep the heart and the mind safe until morning. Good night. I sit with the Bible on my lap. The lamp makes a small circle of light. The room breathes slow, and even my voice moves with that breath. Tonight, I finish what we have been walking through together. We have moved slowly. We have let small images do their work. We have named stones and set them down. We have handed over things that press the chest. We have let words from the pages sit like a steady friend at the bedside. That slow company changes the shape of a tired night. I place my palm over the book for a moment. The pages are warm from my hands. I do not hurry. The closing is not a rush. It is a gentle lowering of the day into rest. The image is simple. A soft cover settles. The sound is small. The room keeps its hush. Breathe with me now. Inhale for 2 counts. Hold a heartbeat. Exhale for 3 counts. Let the breath be a small, honest metronome. Do this 3 times. Each cycle helps the ribs loosen. Each cycle gives the mind something small to follow. Think of the path we walked. A garden appears. A bench sits under an apple tree. A lantern hangs and throws a warm, patient light. We have used that bench to set down grief, anger, regret, and fear. We have watched a small breeze carry them across a pond. The action was not dramatic. It was steady. It mattered. I ask you to choose one small thing now. It may be a single worry, a name, a task. Pick something that has whispered for attention tonight. Do not try to gather all of it. One stone is enough. Hold it in the mind like a pebble on the palm. Place that pebble on the bench in the garden. Feel the act of setting it down. Notice any small change in the shoulders. Notice the jaw loosen a fraction. The breath may lengthen a little. These small shifts are not illusions. They are the first steps of real rest. I lift my voice and read from the pages as a fellow traveler, not as an answer machine. I say simply what the line promises. It speaks of peace that keeps the heart safe. It speaks of hands willing to carry what is heavy. The words do not come as a lecture. They come as a hand offered. Receive that hand if you are ready. If not, let the offer simply be present. Place a hand over the heart now, if that feels right. Feel the beat beneath the palm. It is steady. It keeps time for a life that continues. Each beat is a quiet witness. Let the palm rest there. Let the fingers be loose. Let the pulse be an anchor for the breath. If the night brings old sharpness, treat it like a brittle leaf. Do not try to flatten it at once. Fold it gently and set it on the bench. Do this with kindness. The work of mending is slow. It does not demand that pain vanish tonight. It only asks for different hands to touch it. I remind you of small practices we used. A short prayer when the mind gets loud. A single sentence of thanks when the chest feels heavy. A breath prayer repeated like a pebble tossed into a quiet pool. These practices are not tricks. They are muscles trained by gentle repetition. When the night returns with its questions, these muscles bring calm. There are nights when nothing seems to change. That is expected. Kindness is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like a neighbor putting a blanket over a chair. The blanket does not fix the weather. It keeps a part of the room warmer until morning comes. Let such small mercies hold you tonight. If the body aches, give it plain care. A warm drink, a blanket tucked in, a slow walk before lying down. If movement helps, physical tending is part of the spiritual tending. The two belong together. Do not think that one must be neglected for the other. Remember the image of the lamp and the well? The lamp makes a circle of light by the bedside. The well keeps a cool, deep calm beneath the floor. Return to that well in the breath. Picture a slow pool beneath the sternum. Each inhale pours a little cool water over whatever burns. Each exhale smooths the surface. The practice is small and faithful. I will offer a short exercise to close the hour. Keep the eyes soft. Place one hand over the heart. Breathe in slowly. Count to 2. Hold briefly. Breathe out to 3. As you exhale, imagine the worry you chose sliding from the palm into a bowl by the bench. See the water around it calm. Hear the tiny ring when the pebble lands. Stay with the sound for a moment. Let it be a sign that the thing is seen and received. Do not judge the pace of sleep. It sometimes comes like tide. Sometimes it arrives in small stretches. Both kinds count. When the mind wakes in the night, return to the breath and the small ritual. Name one thin place. Breathe. Hand it over again. The repeated practice is how trust grows. I speak also of forgiveness. One more time. Forgiveness is not erasure. It is room making. It clears a path so that the feet do not stumble. That room has a soft chair. Sit there tonight. Allow the space to breathe. If forgiving another is not yet possible, begin with a small intention to stop rehearsing harm. That slight shift carries weight. If self-forgiveness seems distant, start with one small act of kindness toward yourself. Put on a sweater you like. Make tea in a cup you enjoy. Say a short sentence inwardly. That is true. I am allowed to rest. Let that sentence be simple and repeat it with the breath. These tiny gestures teach the body to accept gentleness. The word that I read does not demand final answers. It holds a promise that often grows invisible in the slow work of nights. It says there is presence for the weary. It says mercy is near even when the mind cannot prove it. Let that presence be the steady fact you return to when the room grows loud. Listen now to the quiet between my words. That space is not empty. It is full of a calm that is practicing patience. I will keep my voice slow. I will let the sentences be short. Let them land like soft steps across a floor. Allow them to lull the thinking to a gentler tempo. There is no hurry here to fix tomorrow. The small task for this hour is to be present to one breath at a time. Live this hour like a small harbor. The currents beyond will work themselves out. For now, rest within the safe circle set by breath, by hand on the heart, by the memory of a kind hand that receives burden. I close the Bible slowly. I do not slam the cover shut. The act is quiet. The book remains a companion, not a verdict. The lamp remains low. The room keeps the hush. I will stay here a little while longer in the quiet, letting the breathing slow further. If sleep comes, let it come without ceremony. If wakefulness remains, let the small practices we used be ready to be called upon again. Before I end, a short blessing will rest like a cloth over the shoulders. May the calm that keeps the heart gently guard your mind tonight. May mercy rest on the small places that ache. May a lamp of steady love burn in the chest while the night is long. May hands willing to carry what is heavy take your stones and hold them safely. May sleep come softly and repair what is worn. May the God who watches tenderly hold you through the hours and into morning light. Carry this quiet with you into your dreams. Let the breath be your companion. Let the presence be your home. Good night.